Bernie's still feeling the burn. He thinks he's going to be able to pull this off. Do I think he's, at this point, delusional? Close to it, although look at what happened here on Super Tuesday. The only thing we know is that anything can happen, right? Do I think it's a distinct possibility that Bernie Sanders very well, no. I mean, I don't think it's a distinct possibility. I think it's a low percentage, but there is a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. There's a chance that Bernie Sanders could find himself doing much better in these follow-on states than people anticipate. Industrial Midwest, Rust Belt states, in the South. I mean, unlikely. The big differentiator for Biden in states in the South was the African-American vote. That, look, they according to all the polling, they never wavered, and they figured Biden was the safe choice. Biden was who it was going to be, and looks like they were all right. The people who were the African-American primary voters who thought that Biden was going to be the guy, when a lot of everybody else was like, not going to be Biden. Whoop! Turns out it is going to be Biden. So we have to look at the reality of what the follow-on states now are after Super Tuesday for Bernie. Bernie has to say at this point, he's raised so much money, he has to say that he's going to fight this out to the very end, and who knows how it's going to shake out when they get to the convention and crazy stuff. We're in a crazy world. I mentioned before, hello! She's still running around. She's still making noises on the sidelines of this campaign. I haven't forgotten about this. Play clip 2, Producer Mark.
In the campaign, in the documentary, you talk about his campaign from 2016, and you call it, quote, just baloney, and I feel so bad that people got sucked into it. Do you still feel that way now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was my authentic opinion then. It's my authentic opinion now. Here's one of the saddest things happening right now. The House of Representatives under Democratic leadership has passed 400 bills on really important issues, everything from health care to economic security to election security. It just goes on and on. Does anybody know that, Lindsay? Of course not. Nobody knows that. Change is hard. It's not glamorous. It doesn't fit into a soundbite. And yet the people who were elected in 2018 are down there doing the people's work. And I just think we ought to be more understanding and realistic about what it takes to get change in this big, complicated, pluralistic democracy of ours. And it's not easy, but boy, is it ever worth it. And I just want to make sure that voters know what can be done if they give the White House back to the Democrats.
Who should be the Democrat they give it back to, Hillary? I have an idea. Who should it be? I told you guys I saw the actor, and I would say public intellectual, even though he probably wouldn't take. I'm going to confer that title upon him based solely on his Twitter game, James Woods. I bumped into him in the elevator in California after my brother had said, "Hey, where's James Woods?" the night before, which was just crazy. James put out a tweet this morning, though, with an idea. It's just a theory, crediting it to a man who I think studied advanced algebraic theory at MIT, and he was a really interesting guy in that regard. But anyway, he put out a theory, and I'm just putting it out there. Now we're getting into the speculation zone. Biden's too old. Has moments that I will say this, and I don't, we get into this area. It's difficult sometimes to balance speaking the truth about Biden. This is why I also made that comment earlier in the week about how, I do respect the fact that he has dealt with severe tragedy in his life and kept on going, and didn't make excuses and just disappear, and didn't, there's respect there. You got to respect what should be respected. Okay, on to now the senility question. Keep in mind that Donald Trump being crazy, I mean, they're saying that Donald Trump suffers from a serious enough mental illness that he should no longer be president. That has been a favorite game of the Democrats now for years. But there is a real, imagine, for example, how the markets would react if the president all of a sudden walked out to give a speech, whether it was Trump or Biden or anybody else. The president walked out and gave a speech and just started speaking in gibberish. I remember once in my life when I had such a high fever, and I still remember it happening, speaking in gibberish, thinking I was able to speak to my parents. It's terrifying because you don't You don't, you hear and you're like, that's not what I'm trying to say. So that can happen. Imagine if the president of the United States came out and it was, my fellow Americans, I'd like to say that, and all of a sudden they got to run out there and they got like Secret Service kind of grabbing him and shuffling him off the stage. Think of what the markets would do. Think of what our enemies would be thinking around the world. It's not good. It's not, and because it's not even just that, oh, look at this bad moment. It's bad optics. This is the person who's making really critical decisions about things. Decision-making, decision fatigue is real. The decision-making process that we all have to engage in every day is one of the most important things we do, right? Decisions abound. We're constantly being forced to make decisions. Judgment. In many ways, life is a judgment test. What is your judgment about a whole host of issues, from the small to the very, very, very important? You don't want somebody that may have the actual brain chemistry misfiring. It's a real discussion. It's fair to have it about Biden. And, we get in this area, though, where the media is just going to pretend that it's not true, that he does not have what would seem, if he were a relative of mine and he had these incidents, if he were my great Uncle Joe, let's say, and I had seen him having these incidents, I would be worried about the mental health of my family member. I honestly would. Some of these things, it's cloudy. And I remember visiting in Brooklyn. I grew up here in New York City. I remember visiting a great-grandmother when I was very young, and I didn't know what dementia was, but she would have paranoid episodes and show signs of dementia. She was in her 90s. And, it's a tough thing to see no matter how old somebody is. Joe Biden's not quite there, but he's showing some of these early signs. And so, I don't want to be unkind, unchristian. I'm not trying to be nasty about it, but it's real. It's real. And they're going to pretend that it's not. And I think this is where we get into the James Woods theory. This is why I brought this up. There's all kinds of crazy ideas out there right now, but Hillary as VP under a Biden ticket. I know you, and keep in mind, Hillary as VP under a Biden ticket, it sets right in the minds of the left 2016. They would bring it would bring together the Clinton and Obama political machines. And Biden could very well he could agree to be a one-termer. Just say, I've got one term in me, and then I'm going to pass the baton on to now. Hillary's older, too, but she's not as old as Biden, I don't think. I think she's like 71 or 70. She's like Trump age. But Biden could say, I'm going to pass the baton on to Hillary. You'd have a built-in, then, first woman president, assuming she was able to win then with Biden in the Oval Office. How old is she?
She's 72.
Yeah, that's what I think that's what Trump is. Trump's 72. 6 years, 7 years, 8 years makes a big difference at that age. It does. Any of you who have aging family members, like the difference between 60 and 70 is big. The difference between 70 and 80 is huge. So what about Hillary being brought in as the vice president under a Biden ticket, and then Biden says, I'm just going to be a one-termer? And the idea would be that at any point in time, Biden could say, for health reasons, this is the James Woods theory, he could gracefully bow out and say, we've got a wonderful president ready to go here with Hillary Clinton. You all know her. I'm going to go and give, speeches for $500,000 a pop or $250 a pop and go fishing. And I've saved the country. That becomes the narrative. He would have saved the country because they think that Donald Trump's an existential threat on behalf of the Democratic Party. And he would be, in Democrat circles, he would be a hero for all time. I can't say this is going to happen. Maybe Biden wouldn't want to be overshadowed by Hillary. I do think Biden probably recognizes that at some level, that he's missing a step and is too old for this, but thinks that he's the best chance they have against Trump, which may actually be true, and that he's doing them a favor by fighting this thing out to the very end. But Hillary as VP, could they go a lot younger? Sure. But I don't think this is as out there. I don't know what the Vegas odds on this would be, but I think Hillary being VP under a Biden ticket, if he gets the nomination, makes a lot of sense. Remember, they floated Bloomberg and Hillary, and people say now that was just the Bloomberg campaign trying to get attention, whatever. Okay, well, all these consultants, all the people crunching the numbers, clearly they overestimated, but they had an incentive. Remember this. They had an incentive to overestimate Bloomberg's chances because they wanted the cash. Yeah, sure, this will be great. Give me more money. Oh, yeah, you'll totally win California. Give me more money. Hillary, as a shiny object to put out there to get more attention for the Bloomberg campaign, only works because people think it's feasible. People only think it's feasible because it is, I think. Does anyone doubt that Hillary would take a vice presidential slot under a Biden? I don't doubt it. I don't think she would. She wants back into the White House one way or another, even though I know it's technically the Naval Observatory she'd be living in. But, she wants back in the game. She doesn't want to sit this out. She doesn't want to go do yoga and go for walks and drinking Chardonnay and Chappaqua. No. She wants back in. It would not surprise me in the least if Hillary Clinton somehow managed this. Here's another prediction. We'll mark this with a post-Super Tuesday prediction. We'll have to mark this one down. Could Hillary end up being the VP? You'd have an old Democrat ticket, but one with a lot of resonance, 100% name recognition, a ton of money, and the media all in to support. Makes sense. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.